The new garage areas at the Charlotte Motor Speedway are empty right now, but they'll be full next week when they come here for the running of the Winston Select. This weekend, the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers and teams are in Sonoma, California at the road course for the running of the Save Mart 300 this afternoon. For an update on qualifying and news, let's join Bill Weber in our studios in Charlotte.
Thanks, Ned, and good morning, everyone. The racing spotlight shines on the West Coast road course at Sears Point this afternoon. There were some exciting moments in qualifying. Randy will have the pre-race report. Also today, a two-part series on the Winston Select with a look back at the first 9 All-Star races as we get ready for number 10 next week. It's all ahead on the morning edition of IWCR for Sunday, May 15th.
Today's show is brought to you by Cold Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. Avalon Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by Super 8 Motels, with over 1,000 locations nationwide. Life's great at Super 8.
It's been a busy couple of days at Sears Point on and off the track. On the course, a couple of crashes in practice and some surprises in qualifying. Off the track, NASCAR's announcement of a new racing series for trucks. Randy Pemberton has been in California this week, and following final practice on Saturday, he filed his pre-race report.
Thanks, Bill. Another beautiful weekend for Winston Cup racing. The Sears Point International Raceway, nestled in the hills of the Sonoma wine country. Absolutely gorgeous here. Cameraman Harry Cogan and I want to thank you for sending us out here. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it. The teams love coming out here as well. They got here at the track on Friday and began shaking down their cars, preparing for qualifying, which got underway at 3:30 on Friday. A couple of the guys got off the course. Mike Wallace and the Heilig Myers Ford got off the course, as well as Ted Musgrave and the Family Channel Ford, and Mark Martin, who was a threat for the pole. He got off the course just about an hour before qualifying. The team had to work on their car diligently to get it ready for qualifying, and Mark went out and just missed the pole. He turned on a lap of 91.374 miles per hour, and the last car out on the racetrack, Ernie Irvin and the Texaco Haviland Star Ford, turned in the quickest lap. He sat on the pole, 91.514 miles per hour. It was a disappointment for Mark Martin, and after qualifying, we had a chance to talk to him.
I was just I put myself in a bad spot, and the guys were the real heroes. You know, they come back in here and they put the thing back together, and then I had a lot of pressure on me to, one, drive as fast as I could drive, but two, not do it 2 laps in a row. Right. And being that I had wrecked the last lap I'd been on the racetrack, you know, I was in a lot of kind of a high pressure position. So we got a real good lap, and you know, I think we probably ran it as good as we would have before the trouble. But Ernie only beat us 1500ths.
One other major news announcement out here on Saturday. NASCAR President Bill France Jr. announced a brand new racing series. It's called the Super Truck Series, and Harry Cogan and I were at the press conference.
Plan on having 4 events this year, and when I say when they're exhibitions, won't be prize money, because we don't know how many trucks we're going to have. If we got 6 trucks at the Mesa Marin, we'll run 6. It may be a 25-lap heat, or if we're up to 14 at Tucson, we'll run 14. But we're shooting to give guys a chance to build them to where you can have a full-blown schedule beginning in '95.
What about some of the NASCAR teams? Have they expressed any interest in building some of these cars?
Well, we've talked to some of the Cup car owners who are here, for instance, and they've got some interest in taking a look to see. You know, it's not like they've got to go out and build everything and have everything. You know, 2 sets of everything. That's different. So compression would be different in this, but the basic blocks and so forth are like the Cup. So the suspension parts, there are a lot of things that are compatible with Winston Cup cars. So it may make some sense for somebody like, say, Richard Childress, if he could get to put the right kind of deal together, and there's interest to where he can. It's worth him doing. Is what I'm saying.
I think a lot of the Winston Cup car owners, crew chiefs, are even looking at it. Winston Cup drivers, their friends or people coming up from other divisions looking for a way to get into NASCAR or into Winston Cup know it's a stepping stone process, and this may be one of those stones to step on the way to the Winston Cup.
Well, we can look forward to that being another great NASCAR racing series, and this should be a great race out here in Sears Point. Save Mart 300. Bill, back to you.
Thanks, Randy. We're looking forward to it. Now the Super 8 Top 8 qualifiers for the Save Mart 300. Ernie Irvin has his Haviland Ford on the pole. He was second here 1 year ago. Mark Martin with his repaired Roush Racing ride on the outside of the front row. Mark was 40th last spring. Ricky Rudd has the Tide ride in third. That's where he finished a year ago. Dale Earnhardt is the first Chevy in the field today. Terry Labonte, another threat, starts fifth next to Jeff Gordon in the DuPont Chevrolet. Wally Dallenbach with his best qualifying run in the STP Pontiac. He's a road racer and a contender today, starting seventh. Next to Ken Schrader, the winner in Saturday's Southwest Tour event. Rounding out the top 10, a pair of Pontiacs. Michael Waltrip is ninth, and Kyle Petty starts the Mellow Yellow ride in 10th place. Get well wishes to veteran MRN radio anchorman Barney Hall on the men with a fractured heel. John Andretti's busy month of May is underway. He spent the week at Indianapolis before flying to Sonoma for today's race. John will start 38th this afternoon. Now, just ahead on IWCR, a look back at the first 9 years of NASCAR's All-Star race. It has a new name in 1994, and in a moment, the men and their memories that have made the Winston Select one of the most exciting days and now nights of the season. But first, the rest of the starting grid for the Save Mart 300.
Back in 1985, NASCAR and the R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company decided they needed an all-star event. They called it the Winston. It was for drivers who had won races the previous year in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Winston put up a lot of money. And over the years, they had some changes in the format, but it created a lot of excitement and some controversy along the way. In our first part of the series, we take a look at the first 5 years of the Winston.
Man, I'm about to jump out of the seat of the car. I can't wait to get my hand out the window to start waving. I got my hand out the window. I'm coming down to cross the start-finish line. Balooey! The motor, I mean, it disintegrated right up under me. And I got my hand out the window, and and this is the car I want to race tomorrow, you know. So had to get busy and gather it all back in. It was a great controversy. Great controversy. Oh, that engine, Junior had some device on it that when it crossed the finish line, it was going to blow up. It was a big engine. It was this, it was that. And I always told the people, I said, what difference did it make if it blew up or not? It didn't disappear. It was still under the hood, and they checked it whether it was blown up or not. It just had a lot of oil all over it, but they went on and checked the engine, and it was okay, and everybody knew that.
Oh, I had it hooked up. I mean, the car was perfect. You know, it was done in Atlanta that particular year. We came down there, we unloaded, and the car was perfect, and we didn't change a thing. I remember it very well. I had the car right. Yeah, I remember it very well. You know, he was trying to play a dog fight with me there coming out of the pits, and, you know, he went kind of let it out the wall, and I just turned left and went to the inside because, like I said, I was hooked up, and I was running off the well that day. Whenever the caution car came off of turn 4, he came real late and real slow. So he was still kind of in my way, and Bodine took off. And Bodine beat me to the corner, and that's when it all happened.
There was a lot of frustration of getting beat so bad by Bill when he was racing so hard, and then you get a chance to get back by him on the restart there, and we was racing, and he was trying to get back by me and was bumping a little bit, and we came through the trial and we bumped a bit, and next thing I was in the grass, and I was a little bit sideways, out of control or whatever. Slam didn't know which way I was going, really.
But then Earnhardt was in the lead, so when the race started back, I tried every way in the world to pass him, and his car was about 60 feet wide that day.
Bill and I had some hard feelings over it, but we talked after that the next week. I think it was on Wednesday of the following week for the 600. I went over and talked to him, and he and I talked about it, and we sort of put it behind us and went on and raced. And we've been pretty good friends since then, and I got a lot of respect for him because he's such a competitor, tough competitor, and you know, it was just one of those exciting days.
I just kind of blew a fuse.
Well, you know, we started in 6th, I think, in the last segment. Our car was pretty good in the second segment. We were really good in that deal, and we faded a little bit late in the race. So we felt like we were going to be pretty good for 10 laps, and that's what we did. We really concentrated on that, you know, and we were right for it.
Oh, man. Wish you hadn't even mentioned that one.
If I won the first segment, I finished second in the second segment because we accidentally got a set of right-side tires put on backwards, and the car didn't handle as good the second race. But I had a great car. And then the third segment, I mean, you saw what happened. It was a real aggressive move. I lost a lot of fans over it. Didn't like what happened. I won the race, but I'd trade it back, I believe, if I could have got those fans back. And finally, it's right now. But boy, I tell you what, that was a race that changed my career.
I was being a little too conservative. I didn't think Rusty could get by me. I probably maybe I should have driven harder. I don't know, or maybe I was driving too hard. I really can't remember. Bottom line is, I let the big dummy get his nose up under me, and he rooted me in the side and spun me out, and he won the race. And he got the gold mine, and I got the rest. But nevertheless, it was exciting. We had a great time in the pit after the race was over with, and a lot of really fun interviews. You know, it was a fun deal.
The fans had a lot more problem with it than Darrell Waltrip had with it. Darrell's been racing for a long time, and we talked about it after the race was over, and the very next week, you'd have never known we had a problem. So, but the fans didn't forget it.
You know, I was mad at Rusty for a while. He came up to me later on, and said, several weeks later, and he said, I guess you're still mad at me. He said, you're darn right I'm still mad at you. I'm going to be mad at you for a long time. But I'm not mad at him anymore. He's a great guy, and I hate that happened to him, and I really hate it happened to me.
Well, the Winston Select earned its reputation in the late 80s and has carried the excitement right on into the 90s. And we'll take a look at the first 4 years of the running of the Winston Select in the 90s after this break. You stay with us. Yes, there was plenty of excitement in the Winston Select in the 80s, but how about the 90s? I remember the 1992 Winston Select. There were 3 leaders from the time they entered turn 3 until they got the checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt was leading going into turn 3 and spun out. Kyle Petty took the lead, thought he had it won, but Davey Allison slipped by him just as they got to the start-finish line. They crashed coming across the start-finish line. Plenty of excitement, so let's take a look at the Winston Select in the 90s.
To go out there and do that was amazing to me that we could do that, because I figured everybody would change stuff between each segment and get better, but we just kept getting better too. So that was an exciting year for us, and to dominate like that. And I think Davey had another year like he was about dominant as that. So that's the way it goes. When you're good, you're good. When the cars are right.
Y'all made that one just a little boring. Humpy's going to get mad at you. Great run.
Man, I'll tell you what, these guys, they did a great job getting this Texaco Haviland Krispy Kreme Thunderbird together this week, and we just came out and tested it a couple of days. We worked on nothing but just long runs, and then on Saturday, all we worked on was pit stops. So we just tried to put the whole program together, and it worked. The car was a dominant car, but there's a lot of tough competitors out there. When you can beat them guys like that, then that's pretty handy.
You know, Earnhardt and I raced pretty good for the last couple of laps. We took the white flag. He went down and won, and his car pushed up a little bit, and I got under him coming up out of 2. And he took me all the way to the inside wall on the back stretch.
Kyle and I were going down the back straightaway the year before last, and I blocked him low, and he was down in the sparks was flying because his car was bottom out in the bumps, and we went going the corner, and we slightly touched through the air, got off my car or something, and I spun. Davey comes under him coming off 4. They spin down through the front straightaway. Davey wins the race. Davey crashes. That was and I'm sitting down in the turn going, wow. That was fun.
I wasn't sure either one of us was going to make it in the turn 3. And it's just the way it happened. He didn't make it in the turn 3. But I had to slow down enough when he started to spin that Davey had the line and Davey was coming. And, you know, you try to block somebody as much as you can, but you try to be fair about it, too. And he got a nose up under me, and we got together a little bit coming off the 4. And then you come down to the line, and as we cross the line, you know, and I talked to Davey when it was over with. You know, I think that's one of those deals. As you come to the line, you see the line, you're racing as hard, and as soon as you get to the line, you relax because the race is over with. And I think we both relaxed, and when we relaxed, I got into the side of him, and he spun and hit the wall and spent the night in the hospital, and that's no way to win the Winston and have to spend the night in the hospital. But, you know, for the first night race, for the race to come down like that, it's what the Winston Select is all about.
I jumped him in through the drivers' meetings and through the last years. They always said NASCAR's got the right to restart the race if they didn't like the start. Well, that's all they said. They never said anything about penalizing anybody. So when I jumped and they stopped and they just restarted the race, well, then we got a good start and beat Mark anyway. So everybody's happy except Mark. So you know, I reckon I did jump too much too soon, but I would have hated for it to have been Rusty Wallace because he would have jumped too soon, too quick too. But that's racing. That was a fun thing. That's an exciting show. It's a race that, whether it's a 10-lapper or a 60-lapper, it's the Winston Select, and it's an exciting show, and it's always been that way. And I look forward to it every year, and it's a part of Winston Cup racing that is exciting, and you just can't wait till the next year to see what happens, and hopefully you've got a shot at winning in it.
The Winston was something that you can remember by. I got it sitting at home, the trophy, the big crystal trophy in my living room, and I feel pretty proud when I see it, no matter how. It reminds me of two things: a great achievement and a lot of controversy.
Well, the drivers, the teams, and certainly the fans are looking forward to the running of the Winston Select next Saturday night, and you can see that race right here on TNN. It's time for us to take a short break, and as we leave you for this break, here's a look at what's coming up next week here on Inside Winston Cup Racing.
Next Sunday on IWCR, we'll have the post-race report from the Winston Select. NASCAR comes to Charlotte for the 10th running of an all-star affair. We'll have the highlights. Pontiac teams may be getting a new lease on life, a rare mid-season body style change designed to help Pontiac run with the rest of the pack. We'll have a report and reaction to the change. And we'll look at the safety feature that has everyone talking, NASCAR's new roof flaps. They work, and that says it all. The IWCR mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Our question this week comes from Jamie McWilliams of Andrews Island, Bahamas, who writes, why do the teams use different tire pressures on each of the tires, and why is it necessary to change the pressure in some or all of the tires during the course of a race? Jamie, for the answer, we'll go to Donnie Richardson, who's the crew chief on the Quaker State Fords, which are driven by Brett Bodine.
Jamie, the answer to that question is when we get to the racetrack, Goodyear or Hoosier, whichever tire you may be running, has a recommended tire pressure to run at each individual racetrack. What we do to change the handling characteristics of a race car is change that air pressure on individual corners of the race car. And to relate it, it's kind of like a basketball. The more pressure you got in it, the stiffer that basketball is, the less it's a little softer. It does the same thing to a race car on the racetrack.
If you have a question, send us a letter at IWCR. We're at Box 240-417, Charlotte, North Carolina. The zip is 28224. Now, if we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket.
Well, our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to join us again here on TNN for more on Inside Winston Cup Racing.
Today's show has been brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old, get into the cold. And by Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Footwear provided by Simpson Race Products, makers of the Ground Effects line of motorsports footwear. For order information or a new catalog, call 1-800-654
race. The official conversion van of Inside Winston Cup Racing is Gladiator from Glavel, America's #1 luxury van. Glavel, the way we put it together, sets us apart.